So, whenever a new government comes into power, one of the first things you look at is the team they build, right? But what happens when that team is one of the biggest in the country's entire history? Today, we're going to unpack the story behind Indonesia's new, expanded, and, well, historically massive government cabinet. Let's dive in. It all kicks off with this number right here, 49. Yep, the new Cabinet Merah Putih, or the red and white cabinet, has a whopping 49 ministries. I mean, that is a huge team responsible for running the fourth largest country on the planet. And look, this isn't just a big number for the sake of it. It's a genuinely historic one. This cabinet is one of the largest Indonesia has ever put together, which of course raises the question, why so big? Is this a totally new thing, or have we seen this kind of scale before? Okay, so before we jump back in time, let's get a quick look at the new team. This is the Merah Putih cabinet, and they'll be in charge from 2024 to 2029. At the very top, you've got President Prabowo Subianto and Vice President Gibran Rakabuming. They're the ones leading this massive 49 ministry structure, and believe me, the story of how it got this big is a pretty wild ride. So, was this always the case? Is this massive cabinet the new normal? Or is it part of a much bigger, more complicated story? To really get what's happening today, we've got to look at yesterday. All right, let's take a quick trip through Indonesia's political past. You'll see how the cabinet has ballooned, then shrunk, then changed in all sorts of ways over the years. It all started back in 1945 with a pretty lean team of just 21 people. But then you get to the 1950s, the parliamentary era, which was just this chaotic time of shifting alliances and cabinets that changed all the time. But then things get really wild. During the guided democracy era in 1966, the cabinet just exploded to a staggering 132 members, the biggest ever. And then, just 2 years later, the New Order era slams on the brakes, cutting it all the way down to a tight crew of 24. And wow, this chart really tells the story, doesn't it? Just look at that insane peak in 1966 at 132. And then, boom, the nosedive to 24 just 2 years later. It's pretty clear that cabinet size is anything but stable. Today's 49 members might be double the size of that New Order cabinet, but it's still nowhere near that all-time high. And you know, this really gets to the heart of it. The cabinet size isn't just some random number. It's basically a mirror reflecting the political weather of the time. It shows you the strategy of the leadership. Are they trying to keep a small, tight circle of control, or are they building this huge, powerful coalition by bringing everybody into the tent? So that brings up a really practical question, right? How on earth do you manage a team of 49 different ministries without it just becoming total chaos? Well, the secret is all in the structure. The key to making this whole thing work is the Menteri Coordinator, or the coordinating minister. You can think of them as kind of like super ministers. They're senior cabinet members who oversee a whole bunch of related ministries, making sure everyone's on the same page and not, stepping on each other's toes. And here are the 7 big areas they manage. All 49 ministries get sorted into these portfolios, covering everything from politics and security to the economy to infrastructure. It's this layered approach that lets the president manage such a huge and complicated team. Okay, so we've looked at the history and we've seen the current structure. Now let's try to tie it all together. How did that incredible journey from a tiny team of 21 to an army of 132 and back again lead us to the cabinet we have right now? This slide just lays it all out so clearly, doesn't it? Back in 1945, the cabinet was like a small startup. 21 people, a really flat structure, with everyone reporting right to the president. But today, it's much more like a massive corporation, with 49 ministries organized into 7 different divisions, each run by a coordinating minister who's basically like a senior executive. So the bottom line is this. Today's huge, layered cabinet didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the product of decades of political evolution. The early fight for independence, the periods of instability, the massive expansion, the disciplined consolidation, every single one of those eras has left its fingerprints on how the government is structured today. And all of this brings us to the big final question. With this massive and complex cabinet now in place, what happens next for Indonesia? Will this structure lead to more effective, more comprehensive government, or will it just be too big to succeed? Well, I guess that's the question that will be answered over the next 5 years.